Right.
Or it could be a different name.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Testing, testing. Okay.
All by myself?
Like, yeah, you know, too, I'm.
3 minutes and we will do this.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That one.
It's like a full-time job.
Well, I'd rather do it. Did you?
Uh,
Yeah. Just-
Yeah.
And you will like to. Come.
Working the technology there.
It needs a little bit of oil, I think.
You're very loyal. But yeah, like, that's my plan is, okay, we've had this.
Like it just.
The reason I think that's too.
One way
Wonder,
ticket.
yeah, but listen, that's us. We're doing okay. We're at our.
I don't-
Really?
Yeah, because they've reduced, often they were in industry town, the industries have
Yeah,
shut
yeah.
down. They were paying 20% of the time.
Yeah. Busy.
Bob.
Or was it in Caitlin's?
7%.
And our recommendation.
right.
is-
You add on, but
Okay,
so I gotta
thank
be
you.
charging 20% taxes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so the province.
All
right.
Again.
We will.
We never.
Right. Oh. Did you? Oh, I didn't get it, no. Ask you. Ask you.
Yeah.
The acknowledgement.
And acknowledge.
I don't, do you want me to do it this time, sir? I don't have it. I don't have the.
Sure. I'm asking.
Okay.
The next, September, the mayor's doing it. September, the mayor's doing it. September, the
like
mayor's doing it.
After that.
Here we are, 10:15. So are we on yet? We're on. Friends, I would welcome you to our public meeting of the GSPS Police Services Board. Attendance and the report today should be informative and certainly address certain issues in our community. Having said that, do we have a motion coming out of in camera, please, Matthew?
Yes, thank you. At today's closed meeting, the board dealt with the following matters, discussing and approving confidential matters pursuant to section 44(2) of the CSPA.
Thank you. And to continue, Matthew, could you share with us the land acknowledgement?
Yes. The Greater Sudbury Police Service strives to build positive and respectful relationships with the original inhabitants of this land, including First Nations peoples, Métis peoples, and Inuit. It is in this spirit that we as a service honor and acknowledge that we serve in this land that is cared for from time immemorial by the Anishinaabe people of the Three Fires Confederacy. We further acknowledge this land as the dish with one spoon and the Robinson Huron Treaty in peace, our first duty.
Thank you, Matthew. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest? Hearing none. Chief, perhaps I'll hand it over to you to introduce our presentation today.
Thank you, Chair. As the board knows, we discussed late last year in relation to our courts branch and some of the new initiatives occurring in our courts branch. And we asked that Inspector Depate come back to the board and provide us with some updates. And he's happy today to make a presentation to the board and the public relative to our
Testing, testing. Just wait for Matthew to pull up the presentation.
It was there.
All right, Danny, go ahead.
In slideshow mode or? The words of Tom Petty, the waiting is the hardest part.
So while we're waiting, on behalf of the board, I'm sure on behalf of the community, we'd like to congratulate our chief on her recent Governor's Award from Mary Simon and also her King Charles III Medal. It obviously shows we selected a good leader in our community that already within the first 8 months has been acknowledged by significant awards. So congratulations, Chief. Job well done and job to continue to be well.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate that. Thanks very much.
Do you want to have an acceptance speech or something to fill in? the
Yeah,
time?
yeah. No, remember we talked about those acknowledgements? Tried to keep
Well,
it
in
under
that
wraps.
same category, you staying with us, Jacques? Okay. Trying to help us now?
Do you want me to move on to the?
I was just going to say,
Councilor
Jacques
Robert?
is here. We might want to talk about, since we're on to awards, you might want to talk about why he's with us.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
He came for IT
I
support.
thought, yeah.
He's just gonna go first.
We're gonna talk about you, Constable Robert, so you gotta come back over here.
That's selective hearing.
Maybe Nathan or Caitlin.
Said this never happened when Chair
Help.
Sizer ran.
No?
I think Al's right.
I was right on top of. Are we good to go now, or do you want to talk about Jacques? Oh, there, that looks good.
You go.
Okay.
In September? Wow. I'll just have Matthew's look at the slides for me. Okay. Everybody's ready? So through you, Mr. Chair, thank you very much for this opportunity. I've been around this table for a long, long time, and often we get an opportunity to highlight some of the important work in different areas of our business here. And so I think it's the first time we have an opportunity to highlight the work of what I like to call the GSPS's great unknown. And you'll see why as we go through the presentation. It's not the movie, it's not the book, it's the GSPS version of the great unknown. And that's the court section. Move on, Matthew. So what are we going to talk about real quick today is our agenda. So we're going to talk about our mandate. What is it that is the responsibility of the court section? Give you a quick glimpse into the organizational chart, what our roles and responsibilities are, what's next, what's upcoming, some of the big projects we have on our plate, and certainly tie it all in with our strategic direction and community, a reference to the Community and Safety Policing Act. So our mandate, at the end of the day, pretty simple. Switch slides, Matthew, please. Prisoner management and transport, and you'll see how impactful that is and how robust that program is. Court security, ground briefs and court documents, as well as case management disclosure, and lastly, our post-charge support. So some fun facts about the court section. We operate 5 days a week in 4 locations. Okay, we got 155 Elm Street, our main courthouse. We've got 159 Cedar Street, our youth court. We've got headquarters of our police station where we run bail hearings, and we have POA court, which is just down the hall here. So 5 days a week, we're in 4 campuses providing security and doing what we do. We do operate 7 days a week, however, because we have weekend and statutory holiday court, so wash court, which runs out of headquarters on weekends.
Yeah, sorry, if you just stay close to the mic, because we are recording and
No problem.
there's people online. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's hard for me. 9 sworn members work within the court section. I'll break that down for you because not everything is as it seems. And so those 9 sworn members include 2 supervisors. We run with 1 staff sergeant, 1 sergeant, and we have 2 fully operational constables. We also have 5 constables to do some of the work, and they are all on accommodated early and safe return to work plans. We have 25 special constables, broken down in about 11 full-time and 14 part-time, including 1 supervisor who's full-time. And we have 12 police professionals, mostly court clerks. And so we have 1 supervisor, 7 full-time and 4 part-time. Interestingly enough, fun fact about the court section, 46 members, as you can see. So if you parse them out of there and made the court section a division within our police service, by human resource standards, it would be the 3rd largest in our service, 46 members. You can't see that, you have it in front of you. That's just to show a nice breakdown of the organizational chart. And you'll see a cross between supervisors there and civilian work. Interesting fun fact number 2 here. At the top, you see a staff sergeant. So our staff sergeant and our sergeant assigned to the courts branch by far have the biggest span of control within our organization at their rank. So staff sergeant's looking after 45 people, and the sergeant essentially, 44. Huge division, huge section. Okay, next slide, please. We do have, I will mention as we move into the next slide, that we do have 1 accommodated member that works out of our District 2 or LEL, and we'll talk about his responsibility a little later on. And we have 2 special constables daily at the courthouse on Cedar Street, and 1 at minimum special constable here daily for POA court. So this is what I was talking about. Everybody's seen the iceberg slide. Everybody knows about that. So I've just overlaid our courts branch on top of there. And so that's why I call it the great unknown, because if you haven't worked there, if you're not intimately involved, and it's nobody's fault, we are, as police officers, certainly very hardwired to, arrest people and then quickly get our paperwork done and move on. And as you're a young officer, you don't realize that the work really begins after that. So the court's post-charge ecosystem is a lot more robust than anyone knows about. And so a lot of that work happens after the fact. So when you look at the iceberg, when you look at the courthouse, there's a lot more going on than what the eye can see. So one of our main roles and responsibilities, as I mentioned, is prisoner management. Hard to see up on the slide there, but we manage prisoners. That's one of our main responsibilities. So when we talk about people in custody, we manage them at our headquarters, and at the those coming from headquarters and those coming from the Sudbury District Jail. And so what that tells you on the blue graph there is that over 5,500 prisoners is what we managed last year. And I think that shows that it's about 12.5% increase from 2023. So the work's not stopping. The green shows you that most of them, the higher percentage, are coming from the Sudbury District Jail and the rest from headquarters. These are all in-person appearances, 5,500 plus that we've managed. Court appearances. So we do have people that come to court that aren't in custody. So we manage court appearances both virtually and in person. And in 2024, we managed over 25,000 court appearances, 25,500 court appearances. And so that's a 8.2% increase from the year before. That doesn't include POA court. So all the courts we do here, that doesn't include that, as well as Superior Court appearances are not highlighted. So what does that tell me? We're dealing with a lot of people a lot of the time. But if you remember, you go back to our use of force instances and stuff like that, we're seeing very low, minimal security breaches and or use of force incidents. So that's a certainly a kudos to the professionalism of our members and how they're dealing with people and how they're respecting people when they're dealing with them through this process. Go to the next slide, although I don't see my presentation anymore, Matthew. The next slide talks about bail safety. So we have an officer. This is one of the officers that does that post-charge support that I talked about. This is a grant-funded position and has been grant-funded for probably 15 years plus. So we have an accommodated officer assigned to that. So last year, you can see he was involved with a total of about 4,312 IPV tasks. And so what his responsibility is, he's housed right at the victim witness and protection office at headquarters. He works in their workspace. He works with them every day, as well as the bail crown. And so he's dealing with victim safety concerns, bail recommendations, safety planning with people, victims of IPV. And so this is a huge support to our frontline officers. A lot of the follow-up work is being done by that officer. Next slide will be our court briefs. There you go, Matthew. Perfect. And so in 2025, what this tells you is that we managed about 4,422 of those tasks. This is done through our administrative court clerks. They're responsible for the preparation and management of those court briefs, arrests, report summonses, warrant requests, bench summonses that are issued. They have to input that into our system and ensure it's documented, keep our records management system up to date, and ensure that all goes through e-intake to our justice of the peace. And so that was a 1% increase from 2023. So what you're seeing here is that none of the work is decreasing. as we go on. The work continues to increase. Document service, another important on the next slide, please. Document service is another important area of our courts. We have a full-time special constable assigned to this every day of the week, except Saturday and Sunday. And he goes around and serves summonses and subpoenas. And you will see that last year he served about almost 1,900 of those documents that are primarily coming from the Sudbury Courthouse, but we also do assist other police agencies in serving documents for them when they're sent to us, as well as probation. Firearms officer. This is a net new task we took on recently. This officer also falls under the category of post-charge support. So this is taking work away from our frontline officers. Firearms offenses are complex. And some of the work that goes in after the fact, when the emergency is over, affidavits that need to be sworn to, applications to revoke people's possession and license.
Dan? I
Sure.
don't know if it's just mine, but I've got IPV statistics.
Oh, wrong graph on there. My apologies.
No, but just go on. But
Yeah, so it's just the wrong graph. Apologies for that. As I was stating, so I don't have the numbers in front of me, assisting of our frontline, right? Does a lot of the back end work after firearms have been seized in order for us to get officers back on the road. And what happens is you become a specialist in that work. And so you can do that work a little bit quicker than officers that aren't doing it very often. We'll go to the next slide. And so here we'll talk about the case management and disclosure unit just a little bit. And so that, as you know, we started that at the end of November of 2024, and it really was for auditing, ensuring accuracy, completion of our Crown briefs. I think you heard me say when I spoke about this before was we're setting a new standard. We're trying to set a new standard for the documents we put before the courts to free up time for everybody. Ensure that minimum substantive disclosure has been met. What I can tell you 6 months or so into that is it continues to evolve. And although we haven't specifically seen a reduction of Crown screening requests, what we have seen is a reduction in the complexity of Crown screening requests. And so what I mean by that is when previously we may have been asked for 15 or 20 items that were missing from the initial disclosure, now we're being asked for 2 or 3 items. So that's certainly a step in the right direction. It means officers at the front end, through a new indexing system and officer in charge summary sheet, are notifying our case management unit of what's been disclosed and what's not. And that unit is able to adequately source that information rather than it sitting somewhere and maybe a supervisor on platoon not getting to it quick enough. So having that standard unit to look at it and doing this every day has really helped us, and it's going to continue to evolve as we go. And so that data you have is year-to-date data because we didn't have any previously, as the unit is new. Next slide, please, will be the criminal justice information management. This is year-to-date stats. This is also work that the courts branch just took over late fall, early spring. And so those audits need to be done. Essentially what this talks about is everybody's got to get fingerprinted who gets charged. Those fingerprints need to be updated into our systems, into the RCMP databases. Obviously, it's a national system. And so some of that, what happens is our special constables take those fingerprints, they get updated into our internal system, and what happens is we have a clerk that has to audit that to make sure they're accurate. Dates of birth, everything matches up, all that stuff. If it's not accurate, then they put the information into the system through hard copy. And so again, just other units of work that we're continuing to do and take on. And then as we near the end here, we'll move to the next slide. And so we talked about prisoner transportation, right? And so the main places we have prisoners here locally are headquarters, the Sudbury District Jail, and Cecil Facer. As you know, Cecil Facer is a remand center for male youth. And so we're frequently dropping people off there after court and picking them up for court. And so you will see that our prisoner transportations will increased about 1% year over year, 23 to 24. And when we talk about going out of town, so out of jurisdiction for some of our transports, we do those because somebody's being remanded to court. And that usually happens on the young offender female side. So the custody, custodies for female YOs go to Thunder Bay and or to the Sioux. Okay? And so what we're seeing, you're going to see the next slide is going to be astonishing to you. We frequently have to fly to Thunder Bay to drop off a female youth and or so what will happen is there's a ministry plane. So if we've got a youth that's got to go, the plane flies to Sudbury, picks up our officers and the youth, flies them to Thunder Bay, flies our officers back. If that person's got to be back in court any other time, the plane picks up our officers, flies to Thunder Bay, flies back to Sudbury, and then flies back to Thunder Bay. If we're lucky enough to get them remanded to a detention center in the Sioux, what we're often doing if they have to come back the next day is we are driving to Sault Ste. Marie, getting the youth placed into a detention center, getting our officers a hotel room. The next morning, our officers go back. They're picking up the youth, bringing them back to Sudbury. I mentioned Cecil Facer with the male youth. They've only got about 8 beds. So very often, monthly, by the time bail court ends at 6 or 7 in the evening, we have a male youth we have to drive to Brampton. And sometimes stay overnight because they got to come back to court tomorrow if we can't get them in virtual court. And so that'll bring you to the next slide, which talks about prisoner transportation in kilometers. So that's not a typo. 2024, our officers travel 44,000 plus kilometers, and every one of those kilometers is 2 special constables. And so I do know through, and the chief may know more through her work with the OACP, although this is certainly a hot button topic for us in the north, there's other police agencies in the south that are facing similar challenges. And so I believe the OACP Executive Committee, they handed out a survey to police services that talks specifically about transporting of custodies across the province. And so I know that the OACP executive is looking at that to have some, I'm sure, some discussions with the ministry as well as that. What we do know, spoiler alert, is in 2027, Cecil Facer is set to close down and become an adult female facility, which means that in our jurisdiction, we will have no youth facilities, which means that every youth custody has got to go somewhere in the province. And I don't believe we have answers as to where they're going to be going yet. Cecil was actually supposed to close this year earlier, but that was put back by the ministry for a few years as they tried to sort out this backlog. Next slide, please. And so that's just a quick overview of some of the work we're doing daily. And so what's our long-term projections? Well, single point entry, and you've heard me at this table talk about single point entry. If you've gone by the courthouse, they're well on their way. I'm hearing September 2025 that's going to be a reality. And so for us, what we've done internally through the chief's office is we've put together a staffing plan, what that's going to look like insofar as resources. Do we have enough resources? We've sent some of our supervisors across the province. We've done an environmental scan across the province to see how other courthouses in other jurisdictions are running that single point entry to ensure that we're staffing it appropriately. The other thing that we're slowly starting to work on, myself and the Crown, is a pre-charge consultation. So in other words, basically, before laying a criminal charge, consulting with the Crown to see if there's a prospect of conviction, see if we'd like to move forward. This is not going to be a surprise to those of you from maybe out west, this is what the RCMP does in the east. I believe in the east and the west. There is a pilot project ongoing right now provincially in Guelph, where that is certainly being worked on, and good reviews from that. So I know the chief has tasked me with looking at that, and so I am working with our local crown with regards to that. Upcoming projects, just the continued expansion and evolution of our case management and disclosure unit. And then lastly, I did add the federal assault style firearms compensation program. Long way to say the buyback. And so federally, years ago, the Liberals announced that there was going to be a gun buyback. They listed a bunch of there's a list of thousands of types of weapons. That's been put on hold and put on hold and put on hold. What we do know is that apparently the new minister in charge is looking at it and supposed to be giving police agencies an idea of where this is going to go. And so I talked earlier about our firearms support person who's helping the front line. So that will be one of his tasks, because a last check, we have at least 600 to 800 of those firearms on the prohibited list within our community is the projected numbers. Some of it they know for sure, but some of it they don't know for sure. So projected numbers is 600 to 800 of that. So that in of itself is quite the job. And then we'll tie it all in with, you know, we do all this work, and you see there a picture of Special Constable Supervisor Mike DePossi, the first ever, by the way, at the GSPS. So that's, you know, we've gone to the chief with all the work we're doing and the stuff we're doing, and got the support to promote somebody to supervisor. We needed more supervision at the courthouse with the amount of specials we have. So that's one of the great, you know, wins we've had recently. And at the end of the day, you know, we continue to ensure the adequate staffing and equal distribution of work. That's why we're doing our staffing plans, ensuring we're meeting the needs of everybody in our community, promoting the health and safety of our members. And I just wanted to include section 243, of the CSPA. You may or may not know it. Essentially what it says is it's your responsibility as a board, right? For your area of policing responsibility, where there are court houses and court premises, it's your responsibility for security, right? And it's our responsibility to ensure justices and judges are safe. It's our responsibility to ensure the public is safe. It's our responsibility to ensure the custodies, the people we deal with, the accused that we're moving and transporting are safe. And that's why you know, we have these robust staffing plans and training programs to ensure that our members are meeting the needs of the community and certainly the CSPA. And that is a little peek into the great unknown.
Fun fact, Dan DePace is always articulate and passionate and presents very well. So thank you very much, Dan, for an excellent presentation, as always.
Thank you.
I do think we have some questions from Member Fortune.
Couple of questions. A great presentation. You really gave us an appreciation for the volume of, and it seems like every category that you addressed has gone up since last year. Just a couple of quick questions. On your court section, your chart where it refers to victim witness, trial coordinator, those aren't employed by GSPS, right?
Yes,
They are employed.
they are. Yeah, those are. They are. Everybody you see on there is employed by GSPS. That forms part of the 12 court clerks.
Yeah. And then the Thunder Bay, the transportation, that's unbelievable. Can any of it be done virtual, remand virtual?
Yeah, some of that happens, but, and I think, I can't speak for the justices, I'm not a GP, I'm not a judge. Sorry. I'm a hard learner. I can't speak for that. Yes, there is a lot of that happens virtually, but it doesn't always happen. And sometimes they need them here in person, or they want them here in person. And so the ministry is great for helping to organize that. I suspect it's extremely expensive for the ministry. But I kid you not, where we've had weekends where there's been back and forth probably 8 times it happens because what happens is here at the police service, we are not a detention center. So if a youth gets remanded and it's 8 o'clock at night, we cannot and should not, for a whole host of reasons, and allegedly are not permitted to just hold them at the police station because they're going to court tomorrow. That's not our function. It's not our role. We're not an identified detention center, and so we've got to fly them out. And most subsequent court is done virtually. But as the case gets to completion, a lot of times they bring them back here because if they're youth from Sudbury, so if they know that this is the last court date and it's going to get resolved, they put it in person so that when if the youth gets released, then they're in their home community rather than having to deal with releasing a 16-year-old youth in Thunder Bay that's from Sudbury without a family. Exactly. So yeah.
Last question, single point entry.
Mm-hmm.
I know they've made changes with swipe cards and so on. Is the plan at the single point entry, would you have someone stationed there with security and?
Yeah, that's correct. So what we're going to have is the magnometers, the all that fancy equipment, 2025 level equipment. And so there's going to be an entrance for people that work at the courthouse. So you'll still have to swipe in and you'll still have security there, but it'll be almost like the Nexus when you go to the border, right? So you'll have that for employees of the courthouse. The rest are going to have to go through the triage process. We're going to have at minimum in our staffing panel we presented to the chief 3 special constables doing that work. One of them doing the wanding and the checking, somebody else watching the video and that kind of stuff. And then the rules are you can't bring in any bags. So like just no bags if you're going to court. So at the end of the day, if you've got a bag, you got to go put it in your car or you can't come in. It's not something where the police are going to take it, hold it for you. This isn't Maple Leaf Gardens, right? Where, you put stuff aside and at the end of the game, you can come and get it. No, you are not allowed with any weapons and or bags within the courthouse. Go put it in your car or you're refused entry. So.
Do lawyers get the Nexus pass?
Yes. You're safe.
Member Poland?
So Inspector Depati, thank you very much for the engaging presentation. Great use of hand gestures as well, and congratulations for staying contained at the podium. There's a big
Really
win
did.
there.
Really did.
He tried, Jerry, he tried. Felt like I was at a Southern Revival. It was awesome. But back on point, you've referenced the congratulations. We've got some capital upgrades moving forward at the courthouse with that September opening. And I think this board leaned in with a letter of support around that. So you flagged a couple of things, and I will get to my point. The prisoner transport, that OACP was looking at that. We're looking forward to maybe a positive review or some efficiencies in that. It seems a bit excessive. What should this board be keeping an eye on, and is there an area that we may need to lean in as we have in the past to support? And if so, what is that?
Yeah, I think what you just talked about, I think that the youth detention stuff provincially, I think is very important. And the loss of the youth male facility here, even if it's only 8 beds, it's still 8 beds. And so that stuff, and so that ties into the traveling, right? So I would say that as this progresses and as the OACP leans in and whatever I hear on my end, I think that's where, you probably provide the best value with regards to leaning in or providing support because I gotta stay contained here. But up in the north, we have challenges too, and it's not the same as the south, and we're unique, and I think those things need to be factored in when we're making high level decisions, and so that's where we could probably use some of your support.
Just one more thing. I love the Tom Petty reference. And for any of the new constables out there, it's very clear that the arrest is really just the beginning. It's not the end of the line.
Ooh, touche.
Just before Member Sizer wants to ask you a question, but following up on Member Poland, can you author us a letter to be able to present it as requesting increased detention facilities or accessibilities or whatever.
Mhm.
I guess the other question is, does that apply to the indigenous youth as well, or do they have a separate detention center on the island or somewhere else?
No, it applies to the Indigenous youth. There's one detention center. It's Cecil.
So Inspector, if you don't mind, perhaps through the chief, if you, for our September meeting, could have a letter that we could sign off on and then send it to the appropriate ministry.
Sure.
Member Sizer?
Thank you, Chair. Just through you. I'm going to delve into it a little bit, Inspector. With regards to bail safety, we have here assist with CA Children's Aid Society calls. And you mentioned we operate 5 days a week, and then you have also we operate 7 days a week. So would our special constables be assisting with those CAS calls, and what type of calls? Can you kind of expand on what type of calls those would be, Inspector?
Yeah, no, that's on the Monday to Friday with our bail safety officer, and what that is intimate partner violence calls wherein there's children involved, and so we help to navigate that with victim witness, and so we're involved in those meetings in providing consultation, providing input to Children's Aid with regards to those IPV calls. It's specific to the work of the bail safety officer.
Okay, thank you. Because I was just wondering with, I know the service also does provide assistance if a social worker or caseworker has to remove a child from a home.
Yeah, that's distinct and separate from this. This is for the IPV calls, the work of the bail safety officer. But you're right, Mr. Sizer. I mean, every day and often, anytime we are involved in a matter that involves a child, we have a duty to notify the CAS. Like every day, 7 days a week, 24/7. And sometimes it's just a notification. And then what happens is we wait for the CAS to call us back and we engage in that regard.
Thank you.
Dave, anything? Just a bit of a question on workload, Inspector Plotzy. So your IPV person, you say there's 4,300 contacts a year. That's a pretty large number for one individual to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So is that overwhelming? Is that the right number? Do you do job evaluation? Should there be more resources? Should take on that.
My take on it is that the officers that there has been doing it for a long time. He's got all the contacts. He's heavily engaged. He works out of the VWAP office, as I mentioned, and I would say it's just the right amount of work. As a matter of fact, we talked about the case management and disclosure unit. We've actually used him to help our officers do a few other things that really don't fall within this don't tell the ministry. But he's done a little bit of work to help us on the case management side as well, because there are times he's helped us with victim notifications and stuff like that, even ones that aren't specific to IPV role. So no, it's grant funded, and we're operating right where we need to be.
Sounds good, Inspector. No other questions? If not, again, thanks, Dan, for an excellent
Bet.
presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Bet.
So board and community, we'll go back to our agenda. We do have a consent agenda from 7.1 to 7.9. Matthew, you have a motion about a consent agenda?
Yes, that the Greater Sudbury Police Service Board receives and or approves consent agenda items 7.1 to 7.9.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Not call for the vote. All those in favor? It's passed. So now moving to our discussion agenda.
Chair Lougheed, if we can just, Jacques Roberge, Constable Roberge will do his.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, perfect. Constable Roberge, can you go stand over here, please? Kindly. The board,
For the record, when I congratulated him, he said, "For what?"
aw,
I said, "Because of your excellence." He said, "Well, what did I do?" So
well, we're gonna tell
I
everybody
guess
what he
that's it.
did.
Now you're going to find out what you did, Chief.
Yeah, he'll be happy he came. So, as the board knows, a couple of months ago, you passed a motion to support two of our officers, Constable Jacques Roberge, who's here today, and Constable Dan Gosling, to attend the 2025 Palmetto Police Motorcycle Skills Competition, which they attended from April 9th to 12th in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So this international event is one of the premier police motorcycle competitions in North America, testing law enforcement officers in advanced motor handling skills, precision riding, and control under pressure. The event brought together 84 riders from 24 law enforcement agencies representing 7 U.S. states and, of course, Canada. The competition also serves as a charitable purpose, raising funds for Camp Happy Days, which is a nonprofit organization that provides support to children battling cancer as well as their families. So notably, Constable Roberge, who's here today, earned a second place finish in the team competition, distinguishing himself among a highly skilled international field. So please help me congratulate Constable Jacques Roberge. I'll turn it over to you, Jacques, to tell us a little bit about the competition and why you're here.
So good morning, distinguished members of the Police Services Board, members from our Greater Sudbury Police, the media, and those members from the public that are online and in person here today. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak today on behalf of Constable Gosselin and I. I had the pleasure of being selected alongside Constable Gosselin to attend that Palmetto Police Motorcycle Skill Training Seminar from the dates as discussed from the Chief. Thanks to the support of the Greater Sudbury Police to continue our training, as well as the Police Services Board and the Sudbury Police Association. Through the funding received, we were the only Canadian contingent present, and actually they were quite shocked because when we arrived with our trailer, it didn't have any decals as of yet, and they were kind of wondering who the secretive service that was showing up at this training seminar was. So with that training seminar that we did, we've recently had our own training refresher here locally at the essentially the casino. We borrowed their lot to do some training there. That skills refresher training keeps our members safe on our roads and to do their due diligence when conducting motorized patrols on a police motorcycle, for the Greater Sudbury Police Service and our community. Along with the standardized patterns that are required through specific training under level 1. One of the patterns that we were challenged with in Palmetto, we actually deployed here to further our skills development with our members locally. As a result of the surplus of funds, we had a remaining balance of $503.87. Based on the hierarchy of the board provided 69.2% of the funding alongside the Sudbury Police Association. So I'm proud to return $348.46 back to the board to support any other future potential initiatives that they may see fit through their guidance. We're very grateful, Constable Gosselin and I, for the opportunity presented by all contributing members. And through you, Chair, I'd like to issue this check.
I don't think we've ever got money back.
This is for the record, I've been on this board twice. Oh, now of 11 years. First time we've ever got any money.
Congratulations.
Again, thanks for your time. If there's any questions, I'll field those. If not, have a great morning.
Check presentations, that's an interesting precedent.
Be careful, yes.
You're going to be popular.
As a bit of a, that's funny, I think the grants as a board, in fact, it was $369. That in fact, future application, that money was for. Everybody on board knows our voting permission to that country of North America.
2019, yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Question, we got a question.
Oh.
What was the toughest part of the competition?
Well, let me put it this way. We left in a snowstorm. arriving in Palmetto with, 20-plus-degree weather. The last times we had touched the bikes prior to that was at the Christmas parade, while all of our US partners get to ride almost year long. So knocking off the rust to, put forth the best effort we could as the only Canadian contingent in the States there. It was a little bit harder for us having no ability to pre-practice. All of the patterns were released to all of the stateside agencies, so they could have set up any one of those patterns for them to practice and become accustomed to those if they chose. Whereas we come in and we're completely cold, hopping on our police service issued bikes, where we have to now, go through that process. So to be competitive in that, it makes it a little bit harder for us here, given our shorter riding season and ability to practice. So,
Well done, Jacques.
okay, thank you.
Returning to our printed discussion agenda, with the first item on 8.1 is body worn camera update. Chief?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Our body worn camera program is well underway. As the board knows, we deployed out to the front. There was a rollout earlier this year. So officers in our emergency response unit, our integrated traffic safety unit, as well as some of the members of our community response unit and one school resource officer completed the training. They're wearing the cameras. We developed our procedure. It was developed to ensure the best interest, of course, of the public as well as our members. That has been rolled out. We will do a survey here in the fall just to collect insight on the challenges we've seen. I know Constable Roberge has been active. He is a member wearing it and giving quite a bit of feedback. So we ensure when we do a full out rollout, we've kind of already, ironed out some of those issues that we've been having. So again, in spring of 2026, we'll roll out phase 2. And Nathan as well and his team have been working with Axon, and we'll be getting those additional cameras early next year. So subject to any questions from the board?
Questions, board members? Hearing none. Chief, this indicates that we need a motion, it seems to be that.
Sorry?
It seems Matthew's put this down as a motion. I thought it would just be received for information.
I think it's just an update.
I think it's just information. So
Yeah.
thank you. And again, those that are involved with this, it says spring of 2026. Is that like a March, April, May? Do you have any idea when that spring means?
I don't think so. I think we're aiming for, in the first quarter to get this out to additional members. We do, again, Constable Mark Savignac, as you know, has retired. We've identified a new training officer, and through Inspector Norman and the training branch, we'll make sure everybody gets the training as we roll that out.
Sounds great. 8.2, 2024 Annual Crime Report.
Yeah, so this is, again, an annual report. As you can imagine, it's a year in review here. So, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I can go through, some highlights. Compared to 2023, our criminal offenses measured by the Uniform Crime Reporting decreased by 4% in 2024. Our property offenses experienced a 3.8% decrease. Violent offenses experienced a 10.8% decrease. However, robbery experienced an increase of 21.7%. Our overall calls for service have been up. And again, this board council knows at budget time, approximately 85% of our calls for service are non-criminal in nature. So that's including liquor license, mental health calls, which we know have increased. That's kind of towards the end of the report. Our mental health calls continue to increase. Trouble with youth, disturbances, et cetera. So overall, 15% of our calls for service are criminal in nature.
Questions? Member Sizer? Fave? Member Poland? Porche? What really impressed me, Chief, was the word decrease in this report. In fact, the majority of those statistics are decreased. The ones that are up are pretty significant in terms of, I consider, scariness. For example, I wrote scary beside child pornography up 60%. So I think it's the world we live in. It's just not Sudbury. So we do have those issues, and also guns, which I'm sure you might talk about later in the meeting, but there seems to be a lot more guns in your arrests and guns in terms of our community.
Yeah, and as you know, yesterday we did a press release relative to a massive seizure here in our community, and handguns specifically, are coming into our jurisdiction. And again, our team is, arresting those individuals and putting them before the courts and holding them accountable. But we are seeing an increase here in our jurisdiction.
One of my important favorite topics is impaired driving offenses. And I note that in fact it was down 6% in 2024. So very much if that's an awareness campaign or an enforcement campaign, but kudos to you and traffic and those that are involved with the RIDE program to driving those statistics down.
Thank you.
I don't think I had any other comments. Nope. I think this is, again, you have motion, Matthew, but I think we're just receiving that for information.
Yeah, just for information, yeah.
8.3, 2024 annual report, Chief.
Again, another, year in review. So really, everything that's in this report put together by Caitlin Dunn and the corporate communications team, of course, with input from all of our senior leadership, is a year in review and a highlight. But most of this information that's included in this report, the board has already seen because we report it to you during all of our meetings here. So again, our budget, our crime reporting, our use of force reporting that we've already brought forward to the board. And then lastly, a year in review of GSPS and what we continue to do, not only internally, but throughout the community, and a lot of great work being done, not only in, the area of law enforcement, but public safety, and really highlighting, how our members get involved in the community, whether it's Cops, Kids, and Fishing, you see all the photos here, whether it's our Fire and Ice, our hockey team. Again, we often say that our members not only work in this community, but they live and play here in this community. And it's evident by the, community connection that our members continue to do. So it's a great highlight. It's a wonderful document. So thank you to everybody, at the table here that had input in this. I appreciate it.
Is there any questions to the chief regarding annual report? One thing to commend in an area which many organizations are looking at deficits, certainly commend you, chief, and your team, that you're actually a surplus of $70,000, which shows good stewardship and certainly staying within budget means. So thank you for that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well done. And also, I think because in past, the use of force reporting was actually up. This year, it was 71 opposed to 98 last year. So again, less use of force obviously means better communications in certain situations. So again, your team to be commended in how they're handling those crises. The one question I did have during review, priority 1 and priority 2 calls. I thought it was interesting that Chelmsford and Azilda actually had less calls. Garson, Coniston, Skeet, Falconbridge had less calls, and Mineral Lake had less calls. Is that just less crime and incidences? It's just random, because that would be the community calling us, not us calling the community. So I'm assuming those are safer neighborhoods.
Well, I don't know if that's an assumption we want to make, or just, people aren't, calling the police. But yeah, the calls in those areas are down.
There are ones that are up on that list.
There are ones that are up, of course.
So again, I think that's a good trend. Nothing else to report under the annual report. So then we come to the financial year-end report, 9.1.
Yes, and as you just indicated, Chair, just let me head here because I had 2 copies of the annual report. So yes, you will see that, the annual report audit is now completed by KPMG, and our financials closed for the year end. You will see, as you indicated, a surplus by GSPS, just over $70,000. That will go into an uncommitted reserve fund for us over at GSPS. And again, it's in a capital financing reserve. It's in accordance with the city bylaws. So we will put that, if we need to come to the board at some point for an unbudgeted item that we know is a priority to the organization, we would say, we have this 70,065 set aside, and we can use it for something that we are not budgeting for. So again, the positive variance for us coming into the next year.
Obviously, good news. And moving to donation reserve fund requests, 9.2.
Yeah, so you'll see what our financials are sitting at. Looking for the board's support, this report for $2,000 in support of the Headstrong Summit. So the Headstrong is designed to give young people the tools, knowledge, confidence. It involves our 4 local school boards. It also involves our school resource officers. So again, the money is set aside, for youth involvement. So I think this is a great one for the board to support. $1,000 in support of India Canada Association. Again, the annual youth festival, which has already taken place. We had 4 of our members attend. Our youth safety officer, as well as our missing person coordinator, attended, and they said it was a great event. And lastly, not much, but $300 for Cops, Kids, and Fishing. And this is a great event that our members at GSPS participate in. We do get substantial donations from local businesses, as well as Canadian Tire and the Jumpstart program. This is taking place, we'll let the board know, I believe, on July 8th, and it's usually out at Whitewater Park. And, the kids leave with new life jackets and new fishing rods, and it's just a great day. So of course, would, recommend that the board supports these 3 initiatives.
Board members, questions about any of the 3? The Indian Canada Association Youth Festival, Dr. Coca reported to me that there was in excess of 400 people that participated, with the majority of those being youth. So again, there's a good impact. So Matthew, do you want to read the motion?
Yes, of course. That the board approve the following donations with funds drawn from the Donations Reserve Trust Fund: $2,000 in support of the Headstrong Summit, $1,000 in support of the India Canada Association of Sudbury, and $300 in support of Kids, Cops, and Canadian Tire Fishing Days.
Duly moved and seconded, Matthew. All those in favor? Carried. Moving to more.
The board trust fund reserve. Again, some great initiatives going to be taking place. So $1,450 in support of the Rick and Dan McDonald Memorial Golf Tournament. I know many of our members go and participate in this. $2,500 in support of the National Peace Officer Memorial Run. I believe we have 10 of our members, both sworn and police professionals, attending in this annual memorial run. As you know, we all gather in Ottawa the last weekend in September, and this group will run from Toronto to Ottawa and meet our team there. So again, looking for support. $1,500 for the College Boreal PTSD event. And again, a lot of our members participate in that. And $2,500 again in support of a wonderful initiative here locally to support Safe Ride Home Sudbury. I know last year we supported $5,000 for this, but as the board has put in a new bylaw, $2,500 is the max. $1,000 in support of the YWCA Community Initiative. Again, it's in support, the money raised for this initiative goes to the Power of Being a Girl and a Boys for Real conferences, where GSPS SRO officers are involved in that initiative. And again, they bring youth from all the school boards. And then lastly, $500 in support of GSPS Pride initiatives. And we will be partnering with Squad, which is Sudbury Queers United Around Diversity, and participating with them in a barbecue at Memorial Park. So looking to help support them in this initiative. And again, would suggest to the board that these are supported.
Questions, board members, on any of those? I think it's interesting to note that every one of them has a GSPS participation. This is not just money to a third party that disappears. Everybody here has your team's presence at the activities.
That's correct, yeah.
Kudos to that. Matthew?
Thank you. That the board approve the following donations with funds drawn from the Police Services Board Reserve Trust Fund: $1,450 in support of the Rick and Dan McDonald Memorial Golf Tournament, 2,500 in support of the National Peace Officers Memorial Run, 1,500 in support of the College Boreal Fitness and Health Promotion Program Run for PSD, 2,500 in support of Safe Ride Home Sudbury, $1,000 in support of the 2025 YWCA community initiatives, and $500 in support of the GSPS Pride initiatives.
Duly moved and seconded. All those in favor? It's carried. Moving on to board policy update with regard to, I would consider the transition from the old act to the new act and making sure things are up to date with regard to our policies. This has been assigned to Member Forche. Member Forche and I discussed earlier this week, and I think if it's agreeable to the board members, we're going to defer this item until our September meeting to allow Member Forche to consult a little bit more with Matthew and some other people to make sure we get it right. Agreeable? Questions about that, board? Not, I see nodding heads. So as the chair, I will direct that to be a deferral. Then we come to unclaimed found money. You want to give us some sense to that, Chief?
Yeah, for sure. I believe Board Administrator Gaetian put this forward, but I'm happy to discuss. Under the board bylaws, when an individual locates or finds money in the community, so you'll see the background here that we had a concerned citizen turn in $2,700 to the service. We did our due diligence. We are not able to find that this money was, stolen as a result of a crime. And therefore, the service procedures outlines the following, that, we will make every attempt to locate the rightful owner, which we did through Superintendent Burnett and his team in our in our Professional Standards Bureau. So it should be noted that the board now has the ability to return the funds to the finder, adding the funds to the Donation Reserve Trust Fund for future use, and adding the funds to the Board Reserve Trust Fund for future use. So again, the board's decision is up to you. And I can tell you, and Matthew will give you some history. We did an environmental scan across the province. We have not seen this here. And so, again, Matthew did, and it's kind of all over. Some services go right to trust fund and reserve fund, don't return any money. Some do a bit of a small finder's fee for the individual. And so I leave it to the board for their discretion.
Matthew?
Yeah, just for the board's information, just between publishing the reports and then today I was able to get a scan quickly from some of my colleagues around the province. Most just have a bylaw similar to ours where it just cites the Act's statement, which says that if the money can't be found, the board has, the right to just dispose of the money as they see fit within the public's interest. A couple services do have a stipulation to that where if after the search, the money's original owner can be found, and the waiting period's over, they notify the finder and the finder has 30 days to claim. Our bylaw, as the chief said, we just follow the act, so it's in the public's, whatever the board considers public's interest, and I listed a couple options there for the board. So it's up for the board to decide how you see fit to direct those funds.
Yeah, I think when we talked about this last week, though, Matthew, do you actually have examples from other services that said, yes, we gave 100% of it back? No, we took a percentage and gave a percentage back?
Yeah, so I only have two, Niagara and Durham. If the original owner can't be found, they do direct the funds to the finder of those funds. Otherwise, follow whatever. And it's a very rare circumstances. No one had actually had a recent memory of having to disperse funds like this.
Okay, so to put a little focus on this, members, before I kind of ask your opinions on it. So we have, I think, three choices. One is we give the money back to the finder 100%. Two, we keep 100% of the money, nothing goes to the finder. Or three, we could give 10% as a finder's fee, which would be $270, and the rest would go into our reserve funds for the community interest. So starting with you, Member Sizer, what's your take on this?
On that one, through your chair, is I think we should be returning the funds to the finder. There's nothing that makes them turn those funds over to us in the first place. So it's not our money. I think we should return it to the finder.
You're saying 100%.
100%.
For LaFave? Okay. Member Poland? How much of a finder's fee? Okay. Thanks a lot. All right. Well, we have 2 and 2. Any other conversation? Any other questions?
Give them half.
The chair is going to make this
I'm not going to
decision.
make the decision.
So
So I hear one member perhaps going to a larger than 10%. Where are you, Member Poland, if we do that?
I think.
Okay. So I think we should have a motion for this particular incident. I don't think we want to set a policy on a one-off. I think we'd make a motion that on this $2,700, Matthew, 50% will go to the finder and 50% would be placed into our reserve fund. The benefit. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Pick anybody you want, Matthew.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion on this? If not, all those in favor? I'm assuming that you're all in favor. You all voted at different times, but yeah, all right. So I think it was unanimous. Okay,
Thank you.
but it was carried. Okay, moving right along, report from the board administrator. That's you, Matthew.
Thank you, Chair. The report is there for the board's information. A couple months since our last meeting, so there is a little more than usual, but I was happy to be able to attend the awards night with the board for the community and GSPS staff. It was a great evening, and there was some great deeds recognized there. Was happy to present the board with the modern rebranding of the board's logo and our associated items, which are in this month's report. Another board we were able to have the vice chair attend the bike month, which was excellent to have. And lastly, of note, I was able to attend the OPSB spring conference and AGM for the board. It was a great event, lots of learning for board concerns and lots of networking as well. So happy to bring that back as well, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions to our administrator? Maybe just for the benefit of everyone, the administrator every week sends us a little summary of what he's doing.
Yeah.
And perhaps in your next summary, Matthew, you can give a little summary about London. As you said, there was lots of good information. Maybe highlight some of the information that you got.
Absolutely, for sure.
So moving then, which we've already congratulated you, we'll do that again, Chief. Very impressive. Good job. Thank you. And then we come to your report.
Thank you through you, Chair. Again, this is a great portion of the board report, and this is, again, what drives our annual report is what we're doing from month to month. So we celebrated Ontario Police Week. The community safety and well-being area did a great job in collaboration. Thank you with Cambrian College, who really stepped up this year and made the event in what it was. Again, as the board administrator just said, we had the launch of our 529 garage program, and that was in collaboration with the city on members riding their bikes to work. So thank you for those who attended. That was on June 4th. And I believe Inspector DePazzi's team was out there and got some registrations. And again, Dan highlighted the bail compliance and warrant apprehension program is well underway here in our community. So any questions? Maybe I'll just stop in between them, or do you want me to
I think to likely
whiz on through?
thank you to Vice Chair Poland, who I
Yes.
believe attended the bike event. So thank you for your presence and representing us very well. Good. Any other questions on this? Any other questions to the chief on these ones? Moving right along then, Chief.
So our emergency communications, as stated in the annual report, we see an increase in calls for service. We continue to see an increase in our calls for service up in the 911 ECC, and you see they're categorized here. Again, some of the areas and new initiatives we continue to work on. The NG 911 project was pushed back, but again, with Manager Savage and Manager Dokis, we continue to be well-positioned to transition over to the NG 911 platform later this year. We've embedded a staff sergeant, a sworn member into our communications center, which has, been really good. They're assisting in diverting some calls for service, as well as just managing calls for service, which I know will support our front line. And, we continue to look to divert calls over to our E-platoon, which used to be called our Police Community Response Center. So no questions
Chief.
there. Our Patrol Operations Division, again, Inspector Brown's not here today, but it just shows the large volume of calls for service that we continue to take. But you'll see that our frontline officers did conduct a vehicle stop. Again, Chair, you noted handguns, drugs, cash located. So this just isn't our drug enforcement unit or, in collaboration with our OPP partners. This is our frontline members, just on a simple traffic stop. They're seizing a loaded Glock with 17 rounds, 777 grams of cocaine, 76.8 grams of fentanyl, and over $5,000 worth of cash. And of course, these individuals were arrested and charged accordingly. Next, the integrated crime section. You'll see again lots of blitzes happening in that area. We had unsafe vehicle and school bus enforcement, aggressive driving campaigns, commercial motor vehicle campaigns, a lot of proactive patrols out in Valcarin and Hanmer. We're getting quite a bit of traffic enforcement complaints out in that area. So our members have been out on patrol. And this weekend, most recently, we did have our off-road vehicles out there doing enforcement because we're getting a lot of those complaints of vehicles racing up and down roadways out there. And again, our reduce impaired driving everywhere. Again, we continue to do a lot of great work in this area, a lot of initiatives, and the combined efforts resulted in just over 1,600 vehicle checks of note. And lastly was in the traffic area, Constable Roberge. Inspector Norman's highlighted the great work conducted by our ERU that continues to assist our drug enforcement in high-risk search warrants, and as well as our canine. I know Constable Larson was on schedule to be here this month. However, there was a scheduling conflict. She will be here in September to meet all of you. So our canine unit not only continues to do great community involvement, but they continue to assist our members, whether it's in search or search of missing persons or search warrants.
Interesting, Chief, as somebody who has a property on Michelle Drive in the valley, since the speed camera has been installed on Highway 69, my staff and I have noticed a slowdown of everybody on what used to be kind of an autobahn between the valley and Sudbury. So again, I know there's mixed feelings in the community about speed cameras, but the reality is people slow down.
Yeah, kudos to the city. I'm surprised they're not pushed over yet, because that happens usually in about the first week. Next, our criminal investigations. Again, lots and lots of work being done in this area. And to your point, Chair, a lot of work being done in our child sexual assault and exploitation investigations. They continue to be on the rise. Again, drug-related arrests are being made, and you'll see here lots of highlights. And again, not really noted in this book, but we did highlight yesterday in our press release our joint forces. The board knows that we committed 3 officers to this project, Project Saturate. And so kudos to Inspector Wilmot's team and the collaboration with the OPP. Again, just over $1.9 million seized in drugs, that were continuing to come into our community, as well as weapon offenses laid. And so we will continue to work with our community partners. We'll continue to work with our policing partners. We'll continue to make sure that the message is that we're not going to condone this type of, you know, illicit drugs coming into our community, and we'll continue to work extremely hard. I know Inspector DePatzier's team is getting ready for, you know, the summer patrols downtown and continue to open drug use and, you know, work with our MLEOs. I know the mayor has stepped out, but we'll continue to enforce those drug offenses in our community.
Questions, Member Sizer? Poland? Forte? I guess as my role as the chair of the Police Services Board, especially in the last 2 or 3 weeks, Chief, I've had people from the downtown businesses, people, for example, that own the Best Western Hotel, very much saying, you know, if your mandate is adequate and effective, which it is downtown policing adequate and effective? So I don't really expect, I'm not going to suggest to them it isn't, but I guess I'll leave it with you because you've just alluded to that a few minutes ago about your initiatives downtown. So perhaps at a future board meeting, September, October, perhaps showing some of the results of those initiatives would be helpful to the larger community to know that we're not sticking our heads in the sand, that we're truly acknowledging the problem and we are doing something about the problem.
Yeah, no, happy to do that. And again, we continue to work with our individual business owners as well as the downtown BIA. I know Inspector DePatie yesterday met with a business over at 128, met with management, met with the staff. We continue to engage all the time. And, you know, the mayor's team here at you know, the city and the MLEOs, and, you know, there's lots of work being done, and maybe the community's not seeing it, but we're happy to come back in September and show some highlights from this summer.
You've hit it right on the head. The community's not seeing it. The community is dismissing it as in you're doing nothing, which we know is not true. So I think that if there can be a communication strategy about what is being done, it'll create a more awareness that we're trying to do the best we can. The comment also was made, is this just a policing issue or is this a mental health issue? So I know you have different partnerships with different organizations. We had Dr. Coca and Dr. Leary, I think it was, at our last meeting. So we know that that's an important issue too. So perhaps if we could have a comprehensive, these are all the things we're doing downtown to make a safer downtown. And I think even my employees, when they go to their cars at night after work, not so much when it's daylight, but in the winter months, when it's dark, they feel a bit fearful. So I think if we can just reassure them that we're there and we're doing our best.
Thank you.
You were out of the room. Do you want to say anything, Mayor? Okay. Going right along, Chief?
Yeah, and then last, of course, is our corporate communications. So just highlights over the last between, I guess, 2 months now, but we did a lot. Cops to conquer cancer versus minors floor hockey. So some of our members participated in that. Of course, the Smile Cookie campaign in support of the Lions Telethon. We hosted this year the Joe McDonald Memorial Basketball Tournament. That tournament's been going on, you know, across the province in remembrance of Joe McDonald. So it was nice. I was back here at Cambrian College, and his family was able to participate. Many of our members attended the Ontario Police Memorial in Toronto, our Red Dress Walk. So lots of highlights. And of course, lastly, our Community Police Gala. And you will have noted that the funds that we raised from that wonderful event have not yet reported. They just haven't closed the GL yet. And so we'll have those final numbers. But to your point, Chair, that night, just shy of $40,000. So it was a wonderful event. There was great feedback. You know, those who attended really enjoyed it. So
I would certainly concur. As somebody who did attend it, I thought it was well done. I thought it was very well organized. Caitlin, when you're back in the room, I thought you did a great job kind of behind the scenes. I thought the chicken was a bit tough. But next to that, I thought everything else was pretty good. And the $40,000 we reinvest in the community for everyone's knowledge. And magicians are good. Is there anything else that you want to ask about galas? So the how much, you're eventually going to tell us the how much.
yes.
Okay. Just for the record, we call you superintendent now, don't we? I don't think you've ever told us officially as a board, we now have a superintendent. Do you want to tell us that?
Do now, we do have a superintendent. So, Mark Burnett was promoted to the rank of superintendent. So you're correct. That was in between, our board meeting in April, and we didn't come together in May. So, a memorandum went out to the police service, but, yeah. So congratulations to Superintendent Burnett.
And for nostalgia, Superintendent Burnett and I were reminiscing at the fried breakfast this morning. That basketball tournament started in Sudbury. We had the very first one in Joe's memory. I played ball with Joe, so that's how far back that all goes. And it was hilarious because that I laughed with Mark. The team had a pretty healthy ego back then, and they thought they were just going to clean up all over the place and going to beat all the other police services. But they weren't counting on the population pool out of Toronto, who had a bunch of guys that I think had played semi-professional basketball, and we got whooped that day, much to the embarrassment of Chief McCauley and the team. But the fact that the tournament is still going on, I'm sure Nancy and the girls are very pleased with that legacy. And Mark attended the games, and Mark said it was some of the best basketball he's ever seen. So the quality has stayed there too. So
Yeah, I think the final game was what, a 1-pointer? I was there watching, and it was intense. Yeah.
did any Cunninghams ever play basketball?
No.
I never-
I wouldn't know if they.
I never saw your dad on the team. Anyway, moving right along. New business. Anybody got any new business? All right, well, we now have an issue with regard to our summer break. We will reconvene on an emergency basis. In the meantime, Vice Chair Poland and I will deal with any daily issues, and we will reconvene in our September meeting, which we will hear from Barb Ridley from Cedar Place with regard to some IPV issues and K-9. We're all good with that? Then I declare adjournment. Hope everybody has a good summer.